with brackets, and you can see the requisite dormers on each of the sides of the house. Down below, I'm demonstrating one off of Wall Avenue and 14th. This is about a block and a half away from the subject property. Also very similar in styling to the building that we're looking at this evening. Finally, I just would like to put up some photos now of the situation that occurred where there's been an existing stone-facing material adhered to the facade of the building that over a period of time has began to fail and became dislodged and started to fall, which was, of course, of great concern to the owner. And this is what prompted the application to come forward. Bear with me while I pull up some photos now. Okay, can you confirm that you see the photo on screen?
Confirmed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't want to get too into much detail before the applicant has a chance to make the presentation, but I wanted to just show these basic photos of the building today. This is the building without the stone, the existing stone facing. It's been removed because, of course, it was coming off and it needs to be replaced. Another view of the same. We'll talk more about this. This is a sample of the stone that was brought in that is being proposed to replace the stone facing on the facade of the building. This is the notations on the back. A side view of the same. Here is a photo of the original stone facing, the stone facing that existed that came off. You can see that from this sort of cross section. It's not this one. This is a close-up of the cross-section of the existing material, and you can notice the aggregate that's present, indicating that the individual units here are a cementitious or cement product, basically. The units are variable in length. They're sort of small. This is a unit that measures about 2 inches by 8 inches, and you can see the broken line here of the unit that is much longer than 8 inches. These are set individually set into a mortar base, a very natural stone color, very natural concrete color against a natural concrete mortar. This is the back of the sample I just showed you to demonstrate the various colors of paint. There's a pink layer of paint, and then there was another layer that that was underneath or on top of the pink layer, and the cementitious base for the stone facing was set right on the paint, and hence the bonds eventually failed. But I understand that the facing has been on the building for quite some time and was on the building even before the current owner purchased it. So the facing has actually been installed for quite a long time. It's had a long life of serviceability. These are some photos that we can turn back to with regard to the new product proposed. I'll just go through them quickly, and I'll end my presentation with the overview of the home. So that's the purpose of the application this evening. This is a previously installed a stone-facing material that has been existing on the building since the owner purchased it, and she's indicated that she'd like to replace a stone-facing material in place of what has failed. We worked with her administratively to set up the application for our meeting tonight, and we indicated that an appropriate replacement for the stone would be either to complete the stucco on the building, which is the authentic material of the building, or the option was also provided for a thin brick solution. So this is like it would be a buff uniform brick because this this architectural style was articulated at this time both in stucco and in brick. We have examples of both. And this would be a fair, authentic articulation of the styling. So the owner is here this evening to talk with you about a stone product she'd like to put back on the building. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you for your presentation, Executive. Can we have legal swear in the applicant for the presentation?
Yes, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Cheryl Lewis Berry. I'm the owner of that reside at 284 Wall Avenue in Paterson, Eastside Park.
And do you swear that the testimony that you are about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Please proceed, Ms. Berry.
Okay, thank you, sir. As Mr. Franco stated, I purchased the house with a stone facing, and the stone facing was one of the attraction I found with the property when I bought the house, when I bought the property. The bathroom and the kitchen wasn't all excited to me. That's a quality some people look for when they're purchasing a home. However, the stone facing was what grabbed me to the property, and I decided to purchase. As he mentioned, over the years, we're living here for the past 20 years. We purchased the house, and we had some problems coming from last year into this year, where we noticed that the stone facing on the home walls start to slide, they start to shift. Then we realized that a gutter was also there that was made the block up or clogged, and the water wasn't running freely, so apparently it sits on the wall and the stones start to fall off. We eventually decided to replace the gutter entirely, so new gutter is there, and then we proceed forward to get the permit so we can place back the stones. I have met with Mr. Gianfranco, who give me a review on the history of the house and in its original form. And as he stated, he presented the two samples, and I looked at them, but I said to decide that I'd rather have back the stone on the building that I had when we purchased. I went out, I was starting to look for the identical stone based on what is required after we take that apart and we look at it. I wasn't able to find the identical stone, but I was able to find something close enough to match with whatever I have left there now on the front of the porch. So that is what we presented, the Tuscany beige. Yes, this item that is exhibiting, that is showing now, that was presented. This is what actually came off the building, as he have stated previously.
Ms. Berry, does that conclude your presentation, or would you like to state something else?
Is there any question? Any question is asked of me?
Okay, commissioners, if you'd like to ask questions about the application to the applicant, please raise your hand. You can find the control button in the participant window. If you open the participant window next to your name, you'll see the hand icon, and I'm looking for anyone with questions. We could provide some more detail about the material if you'd like, or.
Well, the material that I happen to find, which is in close proximity to the previous one that was there in thickness and in diameter, is the Tuscany beige that is now exhibiting on the platform there. That's the closest I could find. I was able to locate the sample at Central Supply. It's a stone that makes natural stone product. It's somewhere there down in Passaic. That's what they have their outlet in Newark and other places where if after the meeting I could at least go and get the stones that the amount that I need to complete the working on the house.
Okay, Commissioner Corbo, I see you have a question, and followed by Commissioner Tate. Go ahead, Joyce.
Yes, good evening, Ms. Cherry. I was just wondering what the planning was on the placement of the tile that you selected. Is it going to be stacked, or is it going to be as what you currently have now with concrete sort of laid in pieces?
Yes, this stone comes with I think it's concrete looking adhesive. It's like a set, a concrete looking thing to stick it on the wall. They showed me that in the set that it comes with.
Yes, but is there going to be concrete in between the placement of each of the tiles? Which is what you have now?
Concrete in between, and when they put not concrete in it, I think it's something like grout they call it now, because it's
a grout.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is like an old. This is like an old stuff where they have in those days when they did it was concrete, but now it's mostly like grout, something like that. The gentleman said would be going in.
And do you know what the color of that would be?
The color match. It comes with the set. It's same Tuscany beige grout that would fit the color of the stone.
Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Commissioner Tate, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up on Commissioner Joyce Corbo's question about the masonry joints. So has this sample been, it's been internally reviewed by John Franco, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Gianfranco, yes, he did review.
Okay, the only reason I'm saying is because I think we could probably administratively, recommend the dimension between the units so that the grout spacing is, historically correct.
Could you please repeat that?
No problem. I think John Franco could look at the grout spacing between the units of stone that you're proposing, and could look at it administratively and decide whether or not it's historic, for the application that you're proposing.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, commissioners? Okay. Mr. Chairman, it doesn't look like there are any further questions. We could go into some more details and reporting when we get into the discussion part.
Confirmed.
Looks like there are no further questions.
All right. So just for the quorum purposes, should we open the floor to the commissioners for discussion?
Well, first you have to ask for a resolution to be read and placed on the floor. And once it gets on the floor, then it can go to discussion.
Okay. Tim, do you have a resolution for this application?
I do, Commissioner King.
Do you read the resolution?
Resolution number 2012 is the conditional approval of a design review application for the property located at 545-547 Park Avenue, block 8606, lot 7.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have a motion to open to the floor, the commissioners?
I make a motion to open to the floor.
Is there a second on the resolution?
Second.
Second. So I heard Nakima with the motion, and then second, I'm not entirely sure who seconded.
Commissioner Garcia Leon.
Okay. Tim, did you get that? So it was Nakima for the motion, and then it was Commissioner Garcia Leon for the second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're open for discussion.
Okay, so for content, if anyone wants to speak on the application, please raise your hand and I can recognize you. For context, I can provide a little more detail at this point about the product that was submitted by Ms. Berry, and let you know a little more about the existing material. So what's on screen now is the existing material, and as I mentioned before, it's a cementitious material. And in that way, it's rather unique because it looks from its cross-section to have been cast directly out of concrete. The unit size that you see here is by measurement approximately 2 inches high. These are consistent heights, and it's variable lengths. So this unit is a complete unit that measures 8 inches, and the unit above it you can see is longer, and it's a broken unit, so it was probably longer than 12 inches. This was the nature of the product that was laid into a concrete base and with uniform mortar joints in between. The joints measure about a 1/2 inch, which is typical for like laying a brick. So you would see in the finished effect, you would see consistent spacing of mortar, a variable length, and then going up, like up and down the building, it would be equal widths of the product. The material that's proposed is not this. I wanted to use this as an example because this is called stacked or ledger stone. So stacked or ledger. This is an actual unit. Like when you purchase this, it's a field unit. It's 2 feet long and about 6 inches to 8 inches tall. And you can see that this is not the product that I just described with regard to what was on the building. This is not what's being proposed. Instead, Ms. Berry has brought in a product. Let me go backward now because this is the travertine product. Doing some more research on this product, I have to show you that it's a travertine. This is the back of it. So it's actually a natural stone travertine, and the color of it is more beige. That's generally its natural color. It's got good girth in terms of thickness. This is typical for travertine products. It's about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's very durable. And if it's applied correctly, it will have a very long-lasting service life, probably more than 20 years. The surface of the stone is a broken face, and the measurements are generally 4 inches tall, and then variable in length, as you see here, 4 by free length. So in verifying what that means, the lengths of this product come at a minimum of 8 inches and a maximum of 16 inches. So this is a variable length product. As Ms. Berry testified before, the way that this product would be laid out would be the same as the product that she had on the building before. It would be even spacing by mortar joints, even heights, and variable lengths. That's what's similar about these two products. What's different is the material. One is travertine natural stone. The other is cement, which is a simulated stone. And the other is simply the dimension is a bit different. This is a 2-inch and the other is larger. The other scale, in my opinion, I'm getting to that picture now. So these photos are taken from the internet. Did not get them from Central Supply, but this is a good source that I was able to find about this product. You'll see that it's measured out in length at 8 inches, and then the next one shows how this product would look if it were laid as a ledger stone. This is not what Ms. Berry is proposing. You can imagine these stones with their mortar joints in between, and you get a good idea of the color of the stone here. The larger dimension or slightly larger dimension of the stone, of this proposed stone, is probably a better match for the mass of the house in terms of for the size of the house, as opposed to the smaller 2-inch stone. The 2-inch that was there is more like a brick. This is more like a stone because of its size. The other name for this kind of a stone is called an ashlar, which is sort of a thin piece of stone. So that provides a little more context for everyone to understand the proposal. Our design guidelines discourage the use of attached products, or we call them veneers or stone attachments to buildings that obscure the original materials of the original architecture of the building. But in the case where Ms. Berry has purchased this property with the stone already attached, we've had a general rule of thumb where we allow applicants to apply for replacement in kind for exact matches. So that provides some context for discussion. If anyone else would like to say something about the application, please raise your hand. We have Commissioner Tate so far. Go ahead, Commissioner. Thank you.
Yeah, just for a point of clarity and for the record, the underlaid stucco that's already there below the stone that's being removed, they're going to install the new stone on top of whatever substrate. They're going to demolish the stucco, correct? So that it adheres to whatever the substrate material is. Is that correct? Can you add some clarification?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the case. I think what may be demolished is the paint layer. It looks, I'm enlarging this photo now. It's a bit so we can maybe get a better look at this. I'm not sure how this is showing up on the internet, but I'm going to try, see what the condition is. It's kind of a high-res photo. So, what you are seeing here is the units that were attached. You can see the shadow of the units. This has already been scraped pretty clean. You can also see that there's no more paint that's showing through. Maybe this is paint in between these two windows above the central door, but there's very little of that left. This is properly prepared at this point for the mortar to be smeared on. So the answer is no, they're not demolishing the original substrate of the house. What you're looking at is the original finished stucco material of the house that was painted. Possibly, there doesn't look like there was even a scratch coat. This is actually the authentic material. So the white shadowing is probably what's left of the mortar base. And the clear areas here is where it all just came off. like you saw on the other photo that I showed you, of what the sample looked like on the back. So some of the areas may need further preparation, but I believe this is going to be stuck with mortar, with grout, as Ms. Berry said. That's another name for the same thing with grout. The grout will be the same color, so it will look like one mass, like a stone building. There won't be any variation, which is the same quality of the original product that was on there. Was made to look like one mass with the tile and the mortar matching, basically.
Confirmed. Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioners, any opinions you want to share with your fellow commissioners about what you think of this? Because from here, after this, we go to vote.
Was there a committee report?
Yes, I believe there is. Is there a committee report, Will?
Yes, there is a committee report.
Okay, this would be a good time to provide that. You're the
Okay.
chair of the committee, right?
Yes. All right, so for this application, our design review, the application to replace the failed faux stone veneer, the HPC office received the sample as was presented, and they proposed the replacement stone facing per our discussion last week. The committee discussed the applicant's circumstance, replacing the siding, which is not the original stucco, but it has been on a house for over 40 years. And as John Franco acknowledged, they're replacing in kind a material that, closely resembles sort of the approach that was already there in the updated house after the stucco. The photos were presented during today's meeting, and we recommend that the material be executively approved by John Franco in terms of the detail of how it's installed, in terms of the masonry joints, the material texture, finish color, as it pertains to the existing neighborhood in context. That's our report.
I would like to accept the committee report as putting a motion on the table to accept the committee report.
I'd like to second Nakima's motion on approving this.
Okay. So did you get that?
Just a point of order, Chair. I think we're already currently in a motion, I believe.
I didn't know.
So we did a resolution to open up the floor, and now we're going into approval. Do we need to, for decorum, do we need to close out the open portion to get into approval, or how do we transition from here?
Well, we're in a motion now for conditional approval as presented, as the application's presented.
Right.
You just did the committee report, and I think what Commissioner Corbo was suggesting is that she would like to. She's saying she'd like to accept the report, but you don't need to. You don't need to make a motion to accept the report. The committee did not bring the report as a motion with a motion. They just brought it as a report. So there's no need for that step. So I think that you just are kind of voicing your support of. I'm sorry, Commissioner Redmond, not Commissioner Corbo. Commissioner Redmond brought that forward. So I think she's just voicing her support of the report, and then Ahmed said the same. So from here, this pretty much sounds like you'd like to support the conditional approval of the proposed material with administrative review of the installation and all of the rest of the details. Everyone has to be satisfied with the material that's presented, that it's a very close match to what was existing. If everyone feels comfortable with that, then it can go as a conditional approval with administrative review of the rest of the installation.
Confirmed. So
if that's the case, then you can call for a roll call if you'd like, since there doesn't seem to be anyone else who's waiting to speak about it.
Right. Tim, can we get a roll call for the administrative approval of the application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Garcia-Leon.
Point of order, Tim, shouldn't I be voting if Commissioner Walter recused himself?
Point taken, Commissioner. Thank you.
I agree.
Commissioner Corbo.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia-Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Yes.
Commissioner Rafael.
Yes.
Commissioner Redmond.
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson.
Yes.
Commissioner Walter is recused. Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Berry. Executive Director, do you have any closing remarks on this before we move to the next
I would like
applicant?
to say thank you to Ms. Berry, and we can follow up with what comes next tomorrow or as soon as you're available. We can meet on the phone and discuss the next steps into getting your project completed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, team.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Okay. So we're moving, we're going to move to 3 Hope Road in the Eastside Park Historic District. This design review application is to replace an existing slate roof with asphalt composite shingles. And we'll have the executive director introduce the applicant and be sworn in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Bear with me while I bring up the file and share it with you. Okay, this application is also a residential home located in the Eastside Park Historic District, and I have the tax map on screen. I'm going to make this a bit larger now so we can see it better and show you where the building is located. Down below, you can see at the bottom of the screen, you can see clearly Broadway is labeled, and everyone knows that the Eastside Park Historic District extends to the other side of Broadway. Eastside Park would be, let's say, off the screen at the bottom, and the subject property is outlined in this red pie-shaped lot, a very unique and prominent lot on what is called the Manor section of Eastside Park Historic District. You can see Pope Road labeled here off of Broadway and Park Road behind it. This would be Block 8410, lot number 1. The block is rather short. You can see there are 3 larger properties. All of these lots are like kind of larger lots, and the houses have more bulk and kind of and presence on this section of the district. The topography slopes downward from Broadway, sort of downward to the corner of Pope Road, where the property is located. The application this evening is for the replacement of an existing slate roof on an architecturally prominent contributing building. I'm going to get that file out next, as I did in the last application, taken from our National Register of Historic Places document from 2004 when it was listed on the register. We'll see what Pope Road holds for us on this building. This is a two-story, three-bay, rectangular plan brick colonial revival style residence. Very, kind of Georgian colonial, constructed in 1925. This inspired facade contains a simplified classical entablature and a Palladian entranceway flanked by shell motif window heads. So the 6x6 sash windows and gable roof is covered in slate. So the building is substantially, old and historic. It is likely that these are the original slates on the building. We have reviewed slate roofs in the past. The service life of slates, is very long, but it's not indefinite. So we do know that this building may be suffering from the age of the slates as well as other factors, including like deferred maintenance. So now I'm going to turn from the location and this is a contributing building in the East Side Park Historic District to photographs to show you some context of what the building's present condition is. I'll switch over to the photographs. Okay, can you confirm that you see the photograph?
Confirmed.
Thank you.
I see it.
Okay, thank you. So the photograph, the building is situated on an elevated lot at the sort of at the end of this pie-shaped lot at the end of Pope Road. You can see that the facade facing or public view of the building, the slate roof looks intact from this photo. There's also a attached like porch area or sun porch area and a detached garage. And I'm going to move around to a more kind of straight-on view of the roof and the building. Here we have a close-up of the attached sun porch. This is not slate material. This is an asphalt shingle sort of slate slate look-like material that was installed prior to the applicant's residency and ownership of the building. This is just the tax map again. This is the rear of the building where you can really start to see the degradation in the slate. There's some various places here where the slate is actually missing. What you see in this tan area in the photo, and I'll go ahead and blow it up just a bit, is where asphalt shingles were used to block in portions of where the slates were missing. There could have been a large leak here, for example, that needed to be repaired, and instead of putting slates back, they did this as a way to arrest water from getting in, is my best guess. While we're also enlarging this photo, I'd like to point out that there is something unique about the slates and how they're laid, in that halfway through the course, there's a scalloped edge, like 4 rows or 3 to 4 rows of scalloped edge slates that run through as another identifying detail of this particular building. The condition of the roof here, you can see, has been in need of maintenance for quite some time. And I can't speak on behalf of the current owner. I would imagine he probably inherited a lot of these conditions, but it's because they look like they've been ongoing for quite some time, in my opinion. On the other side of the rear slope of the roof, you can see also some loss, and I don't have a good view of what's happening in the joint between this prominent sort of dormer feature and the roof line, where there may be a lot of flashing that is suffering, and probably some infiltration, water infiltration there. This is a view from the rear. This is from the Park Road section or viewpoint. This is the rear of the attached porch, and you can see the asphalt replacement here and some more degradation in this side of the roof. So again, I'm back to the first photo. The applicant is here to testify as to what his intentions are and what his application is about. And I'll leave the rest to for his presentation. Thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Executive Director. Legal, can we swear in the applicant, please?
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Eric Drake, 3 Park Road, Paterson, New Jersey.
And do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Drake.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. When I bought the house in 2007, the roof was in this condition. I didn't have any leaks at the time. There were many branches from the trees that's on the city property, and I called out to have them trimmed because when it rains and I have a lot of wind, these branches they fall off and they hit the roof, and the roof is so delicate it makes the slate falls off easily. I've tried for 2 years and they still haven't come out. They came out one time. They didn't do a great job. I reported it, and for the last 2 years, I'm going back and forth with them because it still needs to be done. What I want to use, I was told by, I guess it was the Historical Society, that they want me to put the slate back. To redo this roof in slate is over $70,000. What I want to use, I can't afford that right now, especially in this era of COVID. I can't afford to spend $70,000. What I want to use is what's up on the screen right now, is what the previous owner put there. It looks like slate. It's better than shingles, and it doesn't take away from the look of the house. Actually, it looks, to me, it looks better than the slate. I have to do the roof right now because it's leaking too much, and it's getting to be winter, and I'm gonna have major problems. And like I said, this is what I want to use on this roof. It doesn't change the look. If you're looking carefully at the pictures, you wouldn't know that's not slate if someone told you it wasn't. And that's all I have to say.
Mr. Drake, thank you for your presentation. Tim, do you have a resolution to open this application up to the commission?
We have questions first for the applicant. Will, are there any questions for the applicant?
All right. Commission, do we have any questions based on Mr. Drake's presentation? Please raise your hand.
I see no one.
Okay.
Yeah, I see no one raising their hand here. Anyone wants to jump in, you can go ahead. Any questions for Mr. Drake? Okay, I see no questions.
All right. So, Tim, could you provide a resolution for this application to open up for discussion, the commission?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Resolution number 2011 is the conditional approval of a design review application for the property located at 3 Pope Road, block 8410, lot 1.
Thank you. So, does anyone from the commission have any thoughts on this or any?
We have to have a motion. We have to have a motion.
Pardon me.
Okay, this is Rich. I'll make a motion.
Okay, we got Rich to do the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second to open for discussion.
So, Commissioner Rich Walter, motion, and then Commissioner Ahmed seconded. Roll call, please.
No, discussion now.
What we're going to discuss.
Okay.
All right, commissioners, if you have something you'd like to say or talk about, please, about the application, please go ahead. Okay, we have Commissioner Walter, please.
Yes, like we've been doing in the past, we should give this applicant a opportunity to use the rubberized slate like we've had approvals for a few houses in the district. And but we should not allow him put asphalt shingles on that beautiful house. Thank you.
Other comments, commissioners? This is the time.
Yes, Commissioner Simpson, I'd just like to echo the comments from Commissioner Walter.
Okay, was there a committee report as well? I just was remembering that. Did the committee review this application?
Yes. So the design review for the replacement of the existing slate roof with the asphalt shingle, the home is listed as a contributing building in the Eastside Park Historic District, and it's angled on the corner of Pope and Park Roads, as mentioned in the presentation. Unfortunately, the existing slate roof appears to not have been kept and repaired for many years and exhibiting many areas of tile loss and degradation. The rear elevation appears to be more advanced deterioration than the front, and the visible asphalt shingles appear to have been made in areas where slate is missing. Hence the patches that you've seen in the presentation. The side porch was completely replaced with asphalt shingles by a previous owner. The HPC office provided the current owner with professional slate roofers to call on to assess if the existing roof could be repaired and salvaged in any kind. It's not known where that is in terms of the alternate installers. But regarding the slate roof replacement, the committee is sensitive to fairness with applicants, considering that previous applicants who needed to replace or repair slate were allowed to use the full slates as mentioned by Commissioner Rich. The committee discussed that the asphalt shingle slate shape product, and they concluded that no asphalt shall be allowed per the guidelines. And one thing to point out, there are one or two existing slate roofs on Pope Road, but the majority of the houses have been converted, but that was converted to shingles, but that was prior to the HPC jurisdiction in 2014. So the big takeaway is the committee does not want to approve asphalt shingles for this application. That concludes our report. Any questions from the commission?
Comment?
Yes, can we repeat the motion that's on the floor? Was the motion to approve?
Yeah, the motion is to conditionally approve the applicant's proposal as is, which would mean the loss of all the slate and its replacement with the asphalt product that was demonstrated on the side, that exists on the side roof. This is a very similar proposal to what we discussed at last month's meeting for the Spruce Street project. It's a very kind of consistent line with regard to the shingle. This is different than, this the suggested product, the proposed product is different than like a timber line, which is made to look more like wood with more profile. This is made to look very uniform and consistent with sort of dark joints in between each of the slates, much like you see on screen with the real slates. That's the product that is proposed. So yes, the motion on the floor is to approve as the applicant has made the proposal.
Can I add, this is Eric,
Over here.
can I add something I forgot to add? Are you there?
That's up to the chairman.
Okay.
Yes,
That's up to the
please
chairman, Mr. Drake.
Yes, Mr. Drake, please add your comment.
Yes, I did get a list of potential contactors from Tim, and I called all three. Two came out to do an inspection, and both of them determined that the roof is not salvage. It will have to be replaced. So where you see the little spots where the previous owner put it in shingles, they're telling me that the whole roof needs to be replaced.
Thank you.
Patchwork, yeah.
Do we
That
have
was it.
Continue, Mr. Drake.
No, that was it. The whole roof needs to be replaced. I can't patch it up, they were telling me. The whole roof is shot.
Thank you for the additional information. Commissioners, is there any additional questions or comments?
Just as a clarification, if we want to go with our proposals, we have to vote on this and vote no, and then come up with a new resolution with what our proposals are. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, you could vote. You could the motion on the floor is for conditional approval, so you could approve with conditions. So you could actually make the conditions known. For example, the committee report said the option to either replace the slate or use the slate replacement option, which is what you said actually earlier.
Okay.
For a simplified term, it's like we call it a plastic slate product. So that could be your condition.
Okay, so we could do that on this motion then. Okay, great.
Right. We all have to clarify that you're on the same page with the condition. If that's the condition that you're voting on, then someone has to state that.
Okay.
Okay, so the two conditions that I have on the floor right now, as it stands, it's one, either replace the slate in kind. Two would be replace with the alternate material, the rubber slate. And then, are there any other conditions that we want to add?
I noticed that he has Yankee gutters on there. They're not hanging gutters, I think. Is that what the picture showed? So to keep those intact also when he replaces.
They are Yankee gutters, yes.
Okay. So to make sure that they are refurbished along with the roof so that they stay intact.
Are there any additional conditions, comments, thoughts?
Looks like that's it.
Okay. So, just for a point of decorum, do I go to Tim with the conditions for a revised resolution?
I believe that you've made the conditions clear. So as long as if there are no further questions about the conditions that people are voting on, so it's conditional approval with the three conditions that you stated. I mean, Rich added one for the Yankee gutters, and you stated the two. So that's what the vote is going to be about.
Okay.
So you can call for roll call because no one else is stepping up for Q&A.
Okay, so we can go to roll call. We don't need a motion between the roll call and the conditions that were put.
No, you're already in the motion, so you just do the roll call now that you've discussed it.
Okay. Tim, could you please do a roll call for the conditional approval of this application with the three conditions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Not with Commissioner Walter back in the meeting, we will accept the vote of alternate 1, but not alternate number 2. Commissioner Garcia-Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Abe.
Yes.
Commissioner Raffel.
Yes.
Commissioner Redmond.
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson.
Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes, with those conditions, yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Executive Director, do you have any comments for the applicant before we proceed to the next application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only thanks to Mr. Drake for coming to the meeting. I mean, even on screen here, just noticed even the slates on the edges are falling off. We always like to have a professional opinion about the serviceability of the roof. It's really important to know if the roof is shot or not, because telling people to repair a roof that's shot never gets to the bottom of the problems. It just keeps going and going. So we're glad that you were able to testify that way. And the commission has responded in kind to talk about the entire roof rather than just like repairing, in kind with Slate. So please just let's be in contact in the next couple days when it's convenient for you to, we'll set you up with the next steps to be able to move forward with your project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, Mr. Drake.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So, Commission, we are going to move to on new business 11-50 Spruce Street, aka the Rogers Shop Desire Building in the Great Falls Historic District. The Executive Director will pull up the documents. If you remember from our previous meeting, we had a very in-depth discussion regarding this application, and the applicant came back with some we revisited drawings and proposals based on our recommendations, and they will further elaborate on those, specifically the skylights. Executive Director?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to pull up the documents to introduce the application. Bear with me, please. Okay. So again, just beginning to refresh everyone's memory last month, as the chairman noted, we went over a full design review for block 4802, lot 20. During the review, the proposal on the initial application was to use dormers or to install new dormers into the roof line of the building. I'm sorry, let me go back a step. So this is the location of the building on Spruce Street. One of the, or actually it's the last Rogers Locomotive Works building to be restored, rehabilitated, and put back into reuse. So we all did meet and review this in detail last month. Up the street, up Spruce Street, up to the corner of McBride, we see the Wayne Avenue Bridge, and the waterfall is not far from this building, as well as the Levine Reservoir, where my hand is, and the raceway, the upper raceway is in this area, and is directly behind this property. The property is located in the Great Falls Historic District, and again is the last Rogers Locomotive Works building to be rehabilitated and put back into use. So we're very pleased about the application. We have, during the discussion last month, The dormers that were proposed were rejected as part of the conditional approval. And there was the beginning of a discussion about skylights for the purposes of allowing the loft spaces in the upper floors to bring in light into the project, into the different units. However, Commissioner Simpson noted that if the discussion about skylights was going to proceed, that the applicant should submit a new application with all the requisite information about the skylights, and that's exactly what we're here to look at this evening. Let me see if I have another figure to show you. I have the applicant's architect, Brian Compertor of the CTS Group, is here to present the plans that were submitted. We've sent these around to you for review. I also have a rendering that he prepared that I can put up on screen, and cut sheets of the skylights. But instead of getting too much into detail, I think I would like to end my report and ask if Mr. Compertor would come forward to be sworn in, and then we'll give you control of the presentation so that you can go ahead and make your presentation. Thank you.
Executive Director.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Brian Compertor, CTS Group Architects, 17 Commerce Street, Chatham, New Jersey.
And do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Compertor, I've stopped my screen sharing. You should be able to jump in there and grab the screen. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see the share box. Go ahead and try to put your presentation on screen.
All right.
It's coming. I see it coming. Okay, so we have your normal view now. Maybe we can make it bigger, or your screen is kind of small.
Are you seeing the notes, or are you seeing?
No, what we're seeing right now is the operation panel. Like, you'll see the small slides on the left and the main slide in the middle. Maybe you could try view and then slideshow.
Yeah, sorry, bear with me. I've got it up on the other screen.
Okay, now we see the presenter's view.
You're seeing the.
It looks like there might be the controls at the upper left. One of those controls might be the one you need to use to just give us, change the view all the way to the left.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's it. I think that's it. That shows just the one slide at a time, yes.
Okay, excellent. Let me know if it changes, but
okay.
I'll assume it's okay unless I hear otherwise. Thank you, John Franco, and thank you, Commission, for seeing us again. As John Franco stated, the only item that was seriously debated and contested was our proposal. Last month was our proposal for dormers on the building. So we're here before you tonight to present the alternate for skylights, which we briefly began having a discussion about towards the end of last month's meeting. And we've gone and put together a presentation showing what the skylights would look like and what the exact model of skylight that we are proposing to use. I'll just really quick run through the first couple slides here, just showing the location, as John Franco was stating, of the building. The part of the Rogers Locomotive Works, it was the millwright shop. And here's a historical rendering showing the millwright shop in the center here. And the rendering does show dormers, but we're in this presentation we're proposing skylights. So in case you don't recall, the proposed use of the building is going to be residential apartments, 1, 2, and a couple 3 bedroom units, with commercial units, 2 commercial units on the first floor. And you can see here entrances, exits, and circulation, and in the blue along Spruce Street is our commercial spaces. The second floor is more the same, 1, 2, and a 3 bedroom unit. And the third floor is almost identical to the second floor, although the third floor, it's a 3-story building, and the third floor has vaulted ceilings, which you can see here in our proposed section and in the existing third floor photograph. The ceiling height up to the peak is almost 30 feet from the floor. I believe it's like 28.5 feet exactly. So we are, in order to make use of that space, we're proposing lofts for the majority of the third floor units. And if you can see here in the existing photograph, up in the area where that loft is going to be, it's extremely dark. There's no natural light gets up there, even once these windows, these former window openings are opened back up, which we discussed last meeting. There won't be much light that gets up to that loft space. So our proposal is to install skylights to allow natural lighting into the loft space. And per code, we need to have 8% natural light for the floor area that we're providing natural light in. Otherwise, you have to provide light in other means, which is electronically. So here is our proposed loft plan. The loft area is in gray or pochade area, and you can see I've dashed in where the skylights would be, and just highlighted them here to better show and illustrate where the skylights are proposed for. This was our previous proposal with the dormers, and you can see the great number of dormers, but with skylights we can actually accomplish letting in more light more easily. It's more doable with skylights. You don't have a small dormer window. You have a larger skylight area that allows more direct light into the loft space below. So you can see here we were able to reduce the number. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio of previously proposed dormers to skylights. It's we have about half the number of skylights as we did previously proposed dormers. And we have precedent right across the courtyard at 32 Spruce Street, the storage building. We prepared and proposed skylights for that building, the storage building. And you can see here, we would be proposing, this is a view of the storage building from New Jersey Community Development Corporation's building, from their roof, looking onto the storage building's roof as the building nears completion. You can see the skylights. The skylights are a deck-mounted light, so they're not built up on a curb like typical commercial skylights are. They're mounted directly to the wood deck, and they're very low profile. They're not domed. They're not triangular. They're flat and they're low profile, so they blend in a little bit better. And Velux is the manufacturer of these skylights. so you can get a good sense of what the skylights on our building would look like by looking at these, and we do have a rendering later on for you. As I said, the storage building is sort of a good precedent to look at. You can see how this is the attic space photographed at the storage building prior to the installation of skylights. You can see how dark and uninviting it is. And then this was the final result of the storage building with skylights. And these photographs are, without the electrically powered light fixtures on. This is all natural lighting illuminating the building at this point. And here you can see the profiles of the skylights viewed from the lower raceway path and from the upper raceway path on the storage building. And here are our modified elevations to show the skylights as opposed to the dormers on the facades of the building. This is the Spruce Street elevation, and keep in mind the roof is not visible from any point on Spruce Street, and I'll illustrate that in a minute with photographs. This would be the north elevation and the courtyard elevation. And then this is the rear elevation, the west, as viewed from the raceway path, which I will have a rendering showing in a second. And then the south elevation, this is the elevation that fronts the art factory. So again, the roof and proposed skylights would not be visible at all from this elevation. Here's the view of the building from Spruce Street. As you can see, the roof is not visible. This is taken about as far back on Spruce Street as you can go before you're in another building or a parking lot. And this is looking the other way down Spruce Street. This is the rear elevation viewed from the lower raceway path. This is the existing elevation. And then just to give an idea of what the rear elevation would look like with skylights, we put together a Photoshop image, just a rough sort of sketch, if you will, to give an idea of what proposed skylights and the visibility level of the proposed skylights would have when viewed from the lower raceway path. And that, if there's any questions, that's it with the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Comparator. Do we, for point of clarification, Executive Director, do you raise the questions?
Yeah, this is time for questions to the applicant. So I see Rich Walter has a question. Go ahead, Rich.
Yes. When I saw the interior view of where the lofts would be, I noticed that they're sort of like alternating. So one loft is facing the front apartments, and then the next loft faces the back apartments, and then so on down the line. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. For the most part, yes.
So,
sorry.
Is it necessary to have the skylights on the raceway side at all if you have a skylight on the Spruce Street side or the side view side?
Is it necessary? Again, code tells us we need 8% of the floor area in natural light. Now, with the skylights, it's easier to accomplish that than it was the dormers. We prefer a uniform look from the inside with the skylights on each side. But it
it's necessary.
It could be made up. The difference could be made up with light fixtures if it were to only be approved on one side and not the other.
Because on the Spruce Street side and the alley side, I can see that you're not going to see the roof from the street. But you're definitely going to see these skylights from the raceway. So if we could eliminate the ones on the raceway side, that might be a big improvement to what the visual thing is going to be for the people that are going down the raceway and viewing the historic district. They're going to not see those skylights on the top there. And you showed a rendering from the lower raceway path, but not from the upper raceway path. I think they're going to be more apparent even from the upper raceway path. That was my question.
Okay.
Any more questions or concerns?
Are there any other questions? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions.
Tim, do you have a resolution for this application for us to open up to the floor?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. Resolution number 2010 is the conditional approval of a design review application for the property located at 11 Spruce Street, block 4802, lot 20.
Thank you. Should we open it up to the floor? We put together a design review report for this, so I could start off with that if that makes sense.
We need to make a motion to get it on the floor. So
I'll make a motion to put it on the floor.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so Tim, we have Commissioner Simpson for the motion, and then we have Commissioner Redmond for the second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
okay, time for discussion.
Yes, was there a committee report prepared?
Yes. So the committee report, Design Review Committee, we reviewed the design application for this project last month, and it was conditionally approved without the proposed roof dormers that were included as the new element to the building. The purpose of the dormers was to bring natural light in, as the applicant said, into the loft spaces created by the rehabilitation for housing. When the subject of switching to skylights instead of dormers, Commissioner Simpson stated that such a proposal could not be reviewed at the meeting without submission of all the relevant materials about the skylights. So we obtained that information from the applicant. This is now a new application just for the skylights. I want to be clear, Commissioner, this is just for the skylights. There should not be further discussion about the rest of the project. The proposed skylights are fewer in number than the dormers that were previously proposed in last month's application. The skylights are about square in dimension. These are the same skylights approved for use by the HPC at the Rogers Storage Building project. They are brown or black aluminum frame as displayed in the presentation. There's flat glass reveal from the roof line approximately 4 inches. It's not clear if they were fixed or open, so that's a question. There is a rendering and a product brochure that was provided, which we found to be very helpful. The Design Review Committee has met about the project, and we thought that, as Commissioner Rich said, if there's a way to reduce and minimize the visual impact of the amount of skylights on the raceway side, we would like to explore as many, explore whatever option we have. We're not here, to discuss the code regarding the light air calculations, but concerns were voiced about the insertion of the skylights and the opening versus the sealed skylight. So, the question of how they operate was something that was on the table. The committee supports no opening in the skylights and the careful placement of the skylights based on, where you would see them on the property once installed. And that's our report.
Chair, I just want to clarify. So you're stating that the committee's report is that you're discouraging skylights totally on the Raceway side, and we're allowing skylights on the Spruce side, street side, and the alleyway.
That's the intention, if possible. But we wanted to open it up to the commission to see if there was any conversation on that. But if we could reduce them completely, then as Commissioner Richard suggested in his comment to the client.
Yes, because my recommendation would be there would be absolutely no skylights on the Raceway side, but they can put them as many as they need on the Spruce Street and alleyway side.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any additional comments on the skylights?
Oh, this is Rich. I agree. That's basically what I'm saying. Nothing on the Raceway side, and on the other side, keeping it minimal. And I just want to confirm that these are going to be fixed skylights. I don't know if somebody could ask the applicants that.
Yes, correct. They will be fixed skylights.
Okay, that's okay. Good to know. So, I think what we're developing here is a list of conditions, and one of the conditions for approval would be to remove the skylights from the Raceway side and only have them on Spruce Street and the alleyway side near the Art Factory. Is that something that we all can agree on, or is it?
Yes, and I think that we should take Kenneth's suggestion that if they need to add more skylights on the Spruce Street side, we allow that, so that if they want to bring more light in on that side of the building, they can.
Right. And here's a question. What about scale? Because the skylights that they've selected right now, obviously they're using, 2 on each side. What if they're able to increase the dimension of the actual skylight so they can still reduce it as an option if they want?
Rich, my opinion is that they shouldn't really try to scale up the size of the skylights. They could add more in a row.
The ones that are proposed.
Right. Just keep the ones that are proposed, but maybe if they need to add a few more, we would allow that.
Right.
If I can just interject 1 second. The skylights we're showing are 4x4, and that is the maximum size that these type of skylights come in. And it also works out. It also works out with the joist spacing. Typically roof joists are 24 inches on center, so a 48-inch skylight works out well with the existing structure of the building.
Thank you for that clarification. Are there any more comments from the commission? Regarding the skylight placement and the amount of skylights on Spruce Street versus the Raceway side.
Wow, that's having 2 skylights on one slope at 4x4 would be a huge amount of glass up there, in my opinion. That's like a full sheet of plywood, if you can imagine, with just a space in between, like 4x4 and then 4x4 right next to it.
But on the Spruce Street
like
side,
that would be a very excessive. That would be a lot of light coming in with two skylights on one side. But yeah, no, I'm just saying it's just big.
John Franco, are you saying that it would impact? What would it impact on the Spruce Street side, visually? Other than it being a lot of glass on the aerial picture.
I think it would be the same difference according to the logic that the committee report suggested. So Rich Walter's comments are the same. Like, if we're going on the notion that they're not, they're either not visible or very minimally visible, then you could add more. My comment is just after Brian noted that they're 4 feet square, putting an additional one in each space, for example, like doubling them up on that side of the building, on that slip of the roof, is just a lot of glass in one on one side, in other words. I just making an observation.
Okay, how come none of the pictures show a square skylight? They're all rectangular.
I think that the plans that Brian showed us look to me very much like squares. Yeah, see, like, for example, here, I noted that as well when I was looking at them. Look very square. The brochure is a narrow one. That would be a half size of, the one right here is like a 2x4 unit. The one they're proposing is a double wide unit, so it's 4x4. I guess what Brian said is what they're exactly square. They're 4x4.
Yeah. Okay, just all the picture renderings look like they were rectangular.
Well, again, it's, it was just, like you mentioned, that's a mock-up. It's not, exact. It's a Photoshop. So.
Yeah, we were just trying to mimic the perspective you would view it at from across the raceway.
Any other comments or concerns, commissioners? I don't see anyone raising their hand on this side, Mr. Chairman. So we have some conditions to consider. Do you want to go over them one more time and then ask for a roll call?
Yes. So the conditions that we've laid out are to completely remove the skylights from the raceway side. The applicant is allowed to increase the number of skylights on the Spruce Street and the alleyway side to accommodate for the lighting conditions per code. And did I miss any of the conditions? Those are the two primary ones that we established.
So,
was there another one that you added in, Commissioner Simpson? Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
No, I didn't. I don't think I had anything other than my comments from before.
Okay, thank you. Is that Garcia Leon? Commissioner Garcia Leon?
Yeah.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
I'm sorry, it was not me when I was talking, but my thoughts are that I do agree with the conditions that are stated. So I think someone confused me before I was talking.
Okay. Okay, and before we go forward with the conditional approval, I just want to put it out there one more time with the executive director mentioned about the amount of glass that would be on the Spruce Street and the alleyway side regarding the perimeter. Is it appropriate that we ask the applicant a question about, would they be able to support the structure with the additional loading of glass that we're recommending?
This is Rich. I just want to make a comment. We're not saying that they have to put additional skylights. We're saying they can if they want. They might find that it's not appropriate to put more skylights on that side. So that's a decision we can leave up to them.
Right, but I think they're basing their light placement and quantity on code, which is out of our purview. So I just want to make sure that again, it's up to them at the end of the day. But there could be some other issues that arise from the additional loading. That's all. Are there any additional conditions? Executive Director, are we good to do a conditional approval based on the two conditions that we have?
yes, I think everyone's on the same page. And if you call for the roll call with those conditions, that's what everyone will be voting on.
Okay, thank you. Tim, can you do a roll call for a motion to approve the application? The conditions are to remove the skylights from the raceway side, completely, and the applicant is able to add any additional skylights required for code on the Spruce Street and the alleyway side, which are not visible from Spruce Street or pedestrian access sightlines.
Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Garcia Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Yes.
Commissioner Raffel.
Yes.
Commissioner Redmond.
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson. Commissioner Simpson.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Tim. Executive Director, do you have any final remarks for the applicant?
No, I do not, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you, design team. And John Franco will follow up with you with additional steps and how to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. So, Commission, we're going to move back up to administrative matters on the agenda. Let's start off with A, COVID-19 State of Emergency Protocols Update. Executive Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under item A for COVID-19, I'd like to report to commissioners and to members of the public who are attending the meeting this evening that the city has called the workforce back to work full-time at our offices. Therefore, we have public hours that are supported with COVID-19 protocols in place that involve like entry to the buildings. We have infrared cameras that are recording people's temperatures and making sure that they're wearing masks in order to enter our public buildings. So we are, back more to a normal workplace setting where we're able to meet applicants on an ongoing basis. We've changed some of the notifications on our HPC page accordingly. And with that said, we are still meeting virtually like tonight, and until there is a change in what the City of Paterson's overall protocols are going to be regarding the public meeting protocols, we're going to continue our meetings virtually. This, of course, may change at one point, but to date, we have no update for the commission, for the commissioners, or for the public on as to when we may be going back to face-to-face meetings. So we'll just continue to follow the protocols that are in place. So that was my update for our COVID-19 protocols.
Thank you, Executive Director. Commission, do we have any questions? Please raise your hand.
No questions.
Okay. We will be moving forward under administrative matters to item B, which is the zoning violation referrals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Tim Henderson to provide an update on the on our violation referrals.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Commissioners, the Division for Historic Preservation staff continues to actively patrol the designated historic districts and continues to refer those violations to the zoning officer and the zoning inspectors. We currently have a number of violations issued. So far, presently we are working with 2 different applicants who received summonses and have now retroactively submitted applications to the Division for Historic Preservation. And we are working with those applicants to come to an outcome for the violations that is agreeable for the historic district and for the applicant. And in the process, we're educating them on what exactly the design guidelines are for the respective historic districts and what the procedures are for submitting an application. I will continue to keep the commission updated as more summonses and violations are issued. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, for your report. We'll move on to, well, before we do that, do we have any questions? Please raise your hand.
Seeing none.
Okay. We're going to move on to item C, Great Falls Historic District Design Guidelines. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pleased to report to the Commission that our design guidelines for the Great Falls Historic District project has started again. If you recall, we had started this project last year. We were unable to complete it because we were up against various deadlines with the state and couldn't successfully complete the project accordingly. So we've kind of put it to rest for this period, and we're able now to go forward with the project again. We have PS&S Group as our consultants who are working on producing a draft set of guidelines. The Great Falls guidelines have remained the same since 1996. The first time that they were actually done, and they are very antiquated. So much has changed since that time with regard to the park, the national park being established, and also the new redevelopment plan that's in place. So we have a good scope of work and look forward to bringing the guidelines to the Commission when they're in a draft format, and also sharing them with the public at least one public meeting to present them and then ask for feedback and input for a while before they're finalized. So I'm excited about redoing these guidelines. This is the last time we worked on guidelines. It's been a while now, so this is a good time to be working on the guidelines. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Executive Director. Commission, do we have any questions? Please raise your hand.
Seeing none.
Okay, we move on to D, National Trust Annual Conference. Executive Director.
Okay, so I sent around to the commissioners an invitation to the National Trust Annual Conference. The conference is focused on the West Coast this year, but because of COVID, the conference has been switched over to an online virtual conference instead of an in-person attendance. This works out really well for us because the largest part of traveling to, and I mean the largest expensive part and most time-consuming is the traveling to an annual conference, because usually they involves flying and then hotel fees and conference fees. So being that it's virtual, we have the opportunity to attend this conference from our homes behind the computer and take advantage of the many lectures that they have going on over a period of several days. I think it's 3 to 4 days. The opportunity to do an annual training by attending this conference is very much alive, and I strongly encourage everyone to attend this conference and to let me know about your interest in and your availability to do so. The conference is scheduled for the end of October, so we are more than a month away now. But the registration period will probably be ending somewhere toward the middle of October. I didn't check on the exact date when conference registration ends, but because this is not a physical conference, they may take this all the way to a week before the conference starts. So there might be a lot of time to sort of, get everything together. However, on our side, I would like to make a application to the conference for, the whole group of commissioners at once. So please don't go and make your own reservation at the conference website, but please let me know, if you'd like to attend. And when I have everyone's responses together, I'll go ahead and make a booking for everyone. So I would like to place like a deadline on letting me know about your availability and intentions to attend. I mentioned in the email, I believe it was going to be the end of September or the beginning of October. I hope that's enough time in advance. It's still about a month in advance, the deadline I'm asking you for, than the actual conference. But if you could set up your schedule accordingly and let me know, it will facilitate us being able to join and getting a purchase order put together for everyone at the same time. So the city, of course, will cover the cost of your attendance to this training event, as it is a requirement of our CLG programmatic agreement with the SHPO and the National Park Service. The themes of the conference are, I think, really important for us today. Sometimes our preservation conferences are mired in the same kind of subject matter over and over. And in this case, we've seen a lot of very exciting and controversial, as well as deeply emotional topics this year, surrounding inclusion, surrounding diversity, surrounding the meaning and interpretation in the modern context of historic monuments. And I think a lot of these themes are going to be touched on, some more in depth than others, at the upcoming conference. The National Trust has started a particular, and forgive me, I don't remember the name exactly to say verbatim, but it's an institute within the trust, or to specifically focus on diversity and inclusion, especially on sites that are, being listed or recognized on the National Register. And there's a lot of focus specifically on African American sites across the country. The National Trust has started up a annual grant program specifically for African American sites, and I think the conference will reflect some of the work that this is new since last year or the last 2 years. So I believe that the momentum that they've gained and the people they've met will be, speaking at the conference, and there'll be some good material in that regard. So that concludes my presentation about the Trust Annual Conference. I do encourage everyone to reach out to me and to really consider attending, since it'll be inexpensive and fairly easy for us to attend.
Thank you, Executive Director. Do we have any questions from the Commission? Please raise your hand.
I see no one.
Thank you, Executive Director. We're going to move along to committee reports. We'll start with A, historic designations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rich, go ahead.
I was just going to say the committee did not meet this month, so we have nothing new to report. But I did mean to get together with John Franco and discuss the one from last month, but I never did. So we'll have a report definitely next month. Okay, John.
Thank you. I also intended to send around. I realized in my meeting packet I did not include the letter that you requested that we write. Commissioner Walter, last meeting you directly requested that we write to the owners of the Mish Mill on Totowa Avenue to pick up the trail on the designation of that property. And we did write that letter. I did not distribute it with the packet, unfortunately. It was just not, I didn't remember to attach it. But I want to assure you that it's been sent out. We sent it out this, last week. So I believe that it, just probably hasn't arrived quite yet. So I don't have any follow-up to report to you on that. However, we did send it out. And we will continue to meet and talk about the other designation, the rest of the designation report that you provided last time.
Conclude historic destinations?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to B, Design Review Committee, new construction at 378-382 East 42nd Street. So the Design Review Committee, we met, we had a conference call a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed this particular application. The applicant, Executive Director, do you want to speak briefly about the application, and I can give you our recommendations? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about the application at all since the applicant is not here.
Okay.
So we probably should not talk about it. However, just as an update, we did intend to have this application come to this meeting, and that's why it went to the Design Review Committee. And I want to thank the Design Review Committee for meeting on short notice and spending time to look at this. This is a new residential building in the East Side. We don't see many of these, so I of course like to get everyone's input on these applications. And after the input, we got the input from the committee. We got it out to the applicant, and Tim especially pursued contacting the applicant about getting prepared for this meeting. However, we were not successful in getting in touch with them. So we did not see the design review at this meeting. However, we learned that what was, of most concern to the applicant was to get a partial release to get, well, they need a zoning approval first, of course, to build a building, but the footprint of the building is really a zoning matter. The exterior treatments and materials is really a preservation review matter. So we were able to provide the applicant with partial release for site work and foundations. And we believe that's what the applicant was really looking for so that the site work could get started before the cold weather really hit. We've done this before on other applications, and it could be that, the envelope of the building and the material choices are something that we can continue to work with the applicant while they're getting the first steps on, installation of the new building. So we have not heard back from them since, although we did provide that in follow-up to the design review meeting. We're hoping to continue to reach out to them so that in October, they might be ready for coming back at the next meeting for the design review.
Executive Director, thank you. And just to clarify and follow up, we will hold on to our Design Review Committee notes, which were sent out to the applicant. We will we'll further the conversation once they are ready for discussion. All right. We're going to move on to number 6, old business and correspondence. We'll start with A, 90-98, Pearl Street or Church of Holy Communion. And Executive Director is going to give us an update.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we were in communication with our Councilman Velez of the 5th Ward about any news or updates about the congregation that was under contract to purchase the church from the diocese. And we heard positive news recently, and with that, we followed up with the diocese representatives who we've all seen several times here requesting the postponement of the designation. And, we were able to receive about, I'd say, about a 85 to 90%, commitment that to confirm the councilman's information that was passed along, that the property sale has now, closed, and that the property transfer to the new congregation, is done. So the deal has been, the sale has been completed. However, we were waiting for a final, he was going to reach out to the attorneys for the buyers to confirm and then get back to us, but we didn't get that follow-up before this meeting. So that's why we're not 100%, but it's sounding like we do have confirmation that the sale might be completed. I know that I've been, waiting for an email from the congregation itself, from the pastor, but still have not received it. Still, I'll be pursuing that for, starting to report to you again at the next meeting if we have a chance to get the contact with the new congregation. Then, of course, I'll start to talk with them about the designation. So that's the news we have to report about the Holy Communion designation. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director. We'll move now to B, the Director's reports for the activities at the Historic District. And then I guess you can just go from point to point.
Yes, thank you. Will do. So at the Great Falls National Historical Park, we've had beautiful, cooler weather, and there's been a lot of visitors to the park. Just been ongoing all summer, but especially these past weekends have been like kind of mild and rain-free. And if anyone had a chance to go by, especially Mariel and Kramer Park, you may have noticed that there was some work going on at the landscaping of Mariel and Kramer, and I'd like to tell you just briefly about that. A national nonprofit group that has a partnership agreement with the National Park Service. The group is called Groundworks. They go from park to park and provide some of the smaller landscaping improvements and maintenance kind of efforts, and engage local youth to teach and learn how to, let's say, lay a stone pathway or a stone dust pathway, how to build and install like small retaining walls, how to grade slope and install planting beds, for example. So it's a sort of all hands-on, summer-oriented outdoor work for especially kids in urban communities, and sometimes they have them traveling to larger parks like out in the West to help with these kinds of projects. So Darren Bach, the superintendent, arranged for Groundworks to come and work on some of the ongoing issues that were coming up at Mariel and Kramer Park. And they've done some nice work there to create instead of like a very rough, dangerous pathway from the main path, like skipping off over the fence and then down to the viewing plaza, where everybody seemed to be wanting to go, instead of walking all the way down to where the stairway is, they've installed a viewing platform there with a low wall that also has the other secondary benefit of providing ADA access for a viewpoint, a nice viewpoint that overlooks the falls, since we don't have ADA access to the bottom of the stairway. So you might see that as a new improvement. And also the main landscaped area near the overlook, the new overlook area, was very much overgrown and overtaken with with invasive species. And so they've just cut that down, and they're starting over with that planting area. And I think it will be very beautiful again, as it was when we first opened the park several years ago. There was a commemorative stone with a bronze plaque over near the footbridge. And again, people were walking all around the stone. And of course, I know kids like to climb on the stone. It's very, available for, going up and, touching it and being right there. So the landscape was getting very eroded, and they created a semi-round retaining wall around the stone with pavers so that you could just walk around it instead of like just pushing the dirt all around the stone. So that was also another improvement. So those are a couple of the smaller improvements. We continue to work with the National Park Service on ultimately the land transfer that is part of what we started with our agreements with the Park Service on transferring of the core properties. This is something we're working very intensely on now in preparation for moving forward on the Visitor Center project. And this has been ongoing. We're going to be meeting with surveyors who are going to put in some fine detail into the site plan that will go before the planning board as anticipation of some of the land transfer parts that we have to prepare. So there's a lot of sort of discussion about how the deed will be inclusive of the various easements that are needed over a long period of time for both accommodating the Water Commission, because there's a lot of water pipelines that run underground in those areas, as well as the city's hydroelectric plant operators as well. So we're continuing to work on that work. There's been a lot of news also. Another kind of very intense amount of work right now has to do with Hinchliffe Stadium and getting that project to start to break ground. If you remember from our design review, we had the developers telling us that this fall is when they anticipated breaking ground. They are very serious about that deadline. I know that the plans that we reviewed were up at the SHPO's office in what's called the Part 2 tax credit application review. And we have the project authorization application ready to go to the SHPO this week, and hence the need for the minutes and our resolution, which I'm grateful that you passed this evening, so that can go forward. But we have the plans already waiting at the building department for their review and the issuance of building permits subsequently in the next weeks to come. There's also news out that they had met another one of their funding milestones with regard to the housing component building. So that these are all moving parts that all have to synchronize for the project to really get started. So we're pleased about that, and we're also working on the parking deck portion where the subdivision was run through. If you remember that application we did earlier this year. So there's again a lot of follow-up that we're working on now with that portion. But it seems the project is moving along at a very healthy pace. And again, we're moving our approvals forward. I think we might hear more with regard to the preservation review, or I'll report back to you the next time we meet, or if you continue to watch the news, or maybe more news on the outcomes of the reviews at the higher levels, at the state level, and so forth. So we also have another exciting, I think, piece of news is that the Water Commission has put out an RFP for a feasibility study on the raceway, which was part of their administrative order from Levine Reservoir. This is an indication that the raceway, in the raceway project, or interest in what's happening at the raceway, is starting to come back. So this has, been a while that we haven't, the project's been dormant. So this is the kind of milestone to sort of kick off, I think, ongoing discussion for a period of time for several years about what parts of the raceway will be, coming into the fold for restoration. We're hoping to go to the City Council for the presentation on the quarry lawn design that all of you saw. I'm continuing to put together applications for funding on the brownfield side, and the presentation is scheduled for early October at a workshop. and I hope to let you know by email when that's scheduled, so that you can watch the meeting if you want to, and maybe even call in if you'd like to support the project. Getting voted on to go forward into bidding and so forth. So that's pretty much what's happening in the Great Falls District. We have eagerly anticipating SHPO's response to the installation of the ATP site fence, the perimeter fence. We're supposed to be hearing from them any day now, and then the EPA can coordinate with us with the installation of the fence as soon as possible after that SHPO report comes through. So the lot going on in the Great Falls District and the downtown commercial district, there's been sort of more, I think, stasis since last month's report. We continue to, as Tim mentioned earlier, to kind of shepherd the violations and notices that were put out, because there's a lot, there's a lot of that needs to be done downtown. And we haven't seen the beginnings of any of the large projects that we reviewed for the developments on Van Houten Street or Ellison Street. Those are still being planned out, basically. Moving to the East Side Park Historic District, I am meeting with the city engineer this week to review the Pathways project that you reviewed. And I was asked to go out and, of course, make sure that everybody was on the same page about which paths and where they're headed, and not to have any dead-end paths and so forth, as was indicated on some of the drawings that we looked at. So that's going to happen, and that should be out for bidding shortly after that. I also mentioned that I had our preliminary meeting with the Bauhaus National Labor Museum with regard to the Lou Costello Park project in the Great Falls District for the interpretive panels that we discussed when we did the design review. So we've started to kick off that that interpretive panel project to go forward. I anticipate that in the Eastside Park District, we'll continue to monitor the various changes to the district that have gone on, either unpermitted or undocumented. I know that Tim is pretty invested in that right now. And we look forward to continuing to bring you those reports next month. As far as historic sites, I know, and I reported last time that there was a groundbreaking event at the Paterson Armory site. I have no update on the status of that since then. And let's see, the site. Oh, yes. And we also, if you remember, we reviewed up for the Underground Railroad site, the Freedom Belt proposal. That also is something that we're considering, whether it was something that needed to go to the city council or needed to just be started in coordination with the council without a formal resolution. We've been sort of keyed up for a resolution all this time. So we're kind of investigating whether we're going to complete the resolution or we're going to invite the council members to participate and just go ahead and do it under the conditions, of course, that the HPC recommended. So we may actually see some more movement on that. It's been a period of stasis since we did our work on it, and then COVID came along, and it was not easy to get things to move in front of the city council during COVID. So that concludes my report on the historic sites. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Executive Director. With that being said, are there any questions on the Director's report? Please raise your hand and he will indicate who's asking a question.
Seeing none.
Okay, thank you. So from there, we'll move on to item number 8 on our agenda, which is the public portion. So can we get a motion to open up the public portion?
I make a motion that we open up the public portion.
Second.
So we have a motion from Redmond and a second from Commissioner Rafael. And Tim, let me know when you're ready because I want to record the time. We'll give the public 2 minutes. And if you can state the number and the meeting access code for questions, then we'll start the countdown as soon as you release the information.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready now if you'd like me to read it.
Please do.
Those who would like to participate in the public portion may call in at 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID 711-680-0071. Again, the number to call in is 973-321-1579, meeting ID 711-680-0071.
Thank you, Timothy. The time right now is 8:46 p.m. We will close the line down at 8:48 p.m.
Just a reminder, you should also do the roll call on opening the public portion. I think you had a move in a second, but no roll call.
Thank you. Should we I guess move forward on it or?
No, you should do the roll call because if there's callers, I have to wait for the IT people to let me know, that anyone's calling in. I have to get a confirmation from them that there are no callers. So I'm doing that now while you do the roll call.
Confirmed. Timothy, can we do a roll call for the public portion with the 2 motions on the floor? Or the
Yes,
motion?
Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Garcia-Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Yes.
Commissioner Rafael. Commissioner Rafael.
Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Redmond.
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I have a report so far that there are no calls coming in.
Thank you, Executive Director. Can we get a motion to close public portion?
I make a motion that we close public portion.
Second.
All right. So, Timothy, we have Commissioner Redmond on the motion. And then we have Commissioner Rafael on the second. Can we get a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Garcia-Leon.
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed.
Yes.
Commissioner Rafael.
Yes.
Commissioner Redmond.
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson.
Yes.
Commissioner Walter.
Yes.
Commissioner Tate, or Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. So we adjourn the meeting at 8:49 p.m. September 21st.
I'd like to do a motion to adjourn the meeting. No, we don't need a motion for that.
Can we do a motion? Do we do a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second?
Yes, you need a second now. You have a first. Go ahead and do a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so Tim, we have Commissioner Ahmed with the motion. And then we have Commissioner Redmond with the second.
Commissioner Corvo. Commissioner Garcia Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahmed,
Yes.
Commissioner Rafael, Commissioner Rafael,
Go to the next one.
Commissioner Redmond,
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson,
Yes.
Chair Tate.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I don't get to vote?
Oh, excuse me. I misread. Commissioner Walter,
Okay, yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. And the meeting is officially adjourned at 8:51 p.m., September 21st, 2020.
Very much, everybody. Have a good
Good night,
evening.
everyone.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.